first I want to ask you about Nick Romano, though, nothing about Chicago. I mean, how big of an honor is that for him to get selected by the commissioner in his last season?
I mean, to me, it's how can I put this? It's a given, you know. I mean, I'm surprised, you know, a number more times over the last couple of years. I'm surprised he's never won Goalkeeper of the Year. He's a guy who owns the position in MLS history and won't be touched for a while. So I think it's an unbelievable honor for him. It's the right thing to do, and plus, not only that, but he's earned it. So I'm ecstatic for Nick, and I think it's a great honor.
He said some things that he seemed genuinely humbled by it.
Yeah.
He's been in it so many times. For someone to be humbled is kind of surprising. Has that kind of been his mentality during this last season for him?
We talked a lot about this. You know, I was given the privilege of telling him that he was going to the All-Star game, which I'm glad because of my relationship with him. And you know, at first he went through a whole bunch of emotions that a guy retiring, you know, he was saying certain things to me about, you know, well, maybe it's good if a young guy gets in instead. I said, what are you talking about? You know, this is a great honor. And he knew it. You know, he was just doing the humble thing, like you said. And I think that I'm hoping he's excited about it, you know, because, again, you know, to be recognized like that by the top guy, Don, you know, it says something. So I'm proud of him, and he is a humble guy, and I'm looking forward to seeing him get on that field for the All-Star game.
What do you think Nick ranks among best goalkeepers
Best
at
ever.
US?
Oh, well, I'm talking about in MLS. MLS history, Nick to me is the standard, 100%. I mean, there's the one thing that the U.S. has done consistently since, you know, 20, 30 years is spit out very good goalkeepers. You know, the Casey Kellers, Brad Friedels, Tim Howards, Tony Meola, Nick Romano. Guys like that. I mean, there's a plethora of guys that you could argue is the best of all time, you know, but I'm saying that Nick, to me, for sure, is the best goalkeeper in the history of this league.
You see professional athletes walk away after 20 years as their game is declining. It doesn't seem like his game is declining at all. He could probably play another 5 years if he really wanted to.
I think, you know, with Nick, it was the right time for him. You know, one thing I'm confident on is that nobody should ever have an opinion on another person deciding when it's time. That's it in the person. You know, I lasted 13 years in the league, and on that 13th year, I couldn't walk. You know, and this is it. It was an easy decision. You know, while others, DeMarcus Beasley is going on, 20 years. You know, Nick Romano, 20 years. Everybody's different, and you know, Nick's big thing is he wants to be able to play with his kids and grandkids one day. His body's been through hell and back. So, you know, for me, just hearing Nick explain it, it's the right time for him.
Is it your decision or his decision to go ahead and, like, say I'm playing or you're playing in this game, in this All-Star game?
What?
Is it your decision to say, Nick, you can go play because you guys have games on both ends of that All-Star game, or is it his decision and he's saying I want to go?
That's a weird question. I don't know how to answer that. It never crossed my mind to say no, and I don't know if it crossed Nick's mind to say no. So, you know, I'll have to get back to you if I ever run into that with a player that's, you know, you got picked from the league. If he doesn't go to it, by the way, he can't play in the games anyway. So perhaps you could say that the league decided that he's going. But no, I don't. Yeah, the league decided, I guess.
Like last week you spoke about how you were going to focus more on your team as opposed to the other team. Do you think that really helped you get that 1-1 draw over the weekend?
I think it helped. I don't think it's the main reason. Again, I've talked about it many times, is that as a coach, you want to see the things you work on throughout the week, and you want to see those in the game, whether they work or not. And the two main things we worked on last week was creating an overload to free up space on the opposite side in the half channel. And we saw a lot of that in the first half, which was a big reason why we had a lot of possession. And then the other thing was our press a little differently. And I think that we struggled a bit with that in the game. But again, I saw it many times, the attempt to do it, but other times the situation was there and we didn't do it. So when I talk about the two things really focused on last week, one, yes, I saw a lot of it. The other one, saw some of it, but not as much. But I'm not saying that's the reason why we won. The guys put a great effort in, along with those things that we worked on. We had a lot of the ball. We controlled a bit of the match. They have some special players, and we did well enough to you know, limit them to one goal off a set piece, which if you go back and look at the replay, I guess I could argue that he didn't get Dax, but I think the intent might have been there. That's why the foul was called. Aside from that, it was a great point in the road, and now we're looking forward to 2 at home.
Kind of on that note, how important is sort of this next stretch for you guys? Because you have been on the road so much lately. Now getting to be back at home, I think it's 3 of the next 4, 8 of the next 11, all of that.
It's
Is there a
huge.
little bit more emphasis on that?
Yeah, it's huge, you know. I mean, anytime you have a home game, especially in a league like this, you have to count on and push for 3 points, obviously. You know, they're so important because of the difficulties in this league to play on the road. So, yeah, the next 2, again, we never look past the next game, so I'll just say the next game against Kansas City is of the utmost importance.
Speaking of Kansas City, what do you think? What have you seen from them, and why do you think they've struggled this first half of their season?
Well, they've had some injuries, a lot of injuries, which every coach goes through. I could pinpoint that as the main reason. You know, they're getting back to health. They had a very good result this past weekend. So, to me, it's not that they're doing anything differently. I just think that the injuries, along with maybe just a little rut based around the injuries, has kicked in for them. But Peter is one of the best coaches in the history of this league, and that team, if you put all their work together over the last couple of years, has to be counted in top 3 to 5 teams in the history of this league, to be honest with you. So I'm not buying in that they're in a rut and this and that, blah, blah, blah. They're a very good team.
You talked last week about trying to improve your press. Is that going to be easier to, not easier, that's the wrong word. You have this stretch of home games. I'm guessing that it's a little bit easier to implement those things at home where the players probably naturally feel more comfortable. And is this a good opportunity with a lot of home games to kind of maybe make that a strong point in this team?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, last week we tweaked it a little bit, and we liked the idea of it. In practice, it worked out a bit, and in the game on the road, you know, it was pretty humid there. We haven't played in humidity in a while. I think that maybe caused a little bit of the hesitancy to step out in certain times. But yeah, at home, we need to see a bit more of that. You know, we need to keep working on it in practice and keep looking to do it in the game.
Like, on another topic, I wanted to ask you about Copa America. It has put some MLS players on the map, and I wanted to ask you about Jefferson Savarino.
Yeah.
He played a great game against Bolivia. Have you had a chance to analyze his game and what he's given to that tournament?
Yes, I watched his U.S. game, I watched the Peru game, and I watched the Bolivia game. I've become a secondary Venezuela fan because Jefferson's there. He's a special player, and you know, the things that I see in that system, he does the same things here. You know, he's special, his quality on the ball, his movement. You know, there was one moment in the U.S. game when they had a 2-on-2 and Tim Ream was on him, and he took a step to the right and sold it and ran inside, and it was a great ball, and if he had a better touch, it would have been a goal. Just those things right there are why he's a special player. His movement, his creativity, his understanding when to attack versus when to possess, and all things that I've seen. And the one thing I saw, and of course you're at the Copa America, so it's an honor to play for your country, maybe the ultimate. I saw his defensive work really good in these 3 games, which is something that we've already cut clips for when him to come back, is we want to just show him this, you know, and fit it into how we want to press, and, you know, start demanding a bit more, because he could give more. That's a compliment to him. Not that he doesn't give more because he's here, it's just that we want to push him a little more because he is a special player.
Last question.
In that line, have you been watching some of the Women's World Cup, and what do you think of the U.S. team's performance?
U.S. women, to me, are the best women's team of all time. You could argue. Let me rephrase that. This is important. They're one of the best soccer teams of all time. They're not one of the best. That was my mistake. They're one of the best soccer teams of all time. So deep in talent. You know, just their game. I forgot who their game was when they switched the lineup that I watched. Carly Lloyd had 25 goals or something. That game, that was basically Chile game. That was basically quote unquote more of a second team, and you see the quality there. It doesn't matter who they're playing. You just see the movement. You see they play beautiful, and I'm looking forward to the France game. That's going to be a really good game.